everyone. I'm Nicole Sapphire, along with Molly Line, Griff Jenkins, and Jason Chaffetz. And welcome to the Big Weekend Show. Well, the big story tonight, Elon Musk's reign as Doge chief came to a bittersweet end. The Doge father was given a send-off with President Trump in the Oval Office yesterday, but not everyone is so sad to see him go. Drama-loving Democrats are melting down over Musk's cost-cutting machine. Jasmine Crockett is even threatening him with an investigation.
You basically let this guy run wild, and honestly, I feel like all of the cuts, there was nothing more than a distraction for the things that he really wanted to do. We have tried to subpoena Elon Musk before, and then we can absolutely bring Elon Musk in and we can have him under oath and we can have him tell us about everything that he did.
And she's not the only Democrat calling for Elon to come before Congress.
I think the best way for him to repair his image is to reverse all the damage he did to our government, to the American people. And certainly, I think some crimes may have been committed over the past 3 or 4 months, and they are going to come to light one way or another. We're going to come to light, even if it takes us getting into power again. But we will subpoena people and find out.
And if you think it can't get more ridiculous, well, think again. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson compared Doge's efforts to eliminate waste and fraud to Nazi Germany.
The fact that the president of the United States of America is cutting off food supply and medicine to working people and families across this country, that is an act of war. A president that is working to erase culture, the steps and the actions of this president akin to how Nazi Germany became real.
Madeleine Rivera is live at the White House with all the latest. Hi, Maddie.
Hey, Nicole. Democrats may be happy to see Elon Musk formally leave Washington, but their issues may not be over as the administration promises to continue Doge's work.
It is permeating throughout the government, and I'm confident that over time we'll see $1 trillion of savings and a reduction in $1 trillion of waste and fraud reduction.
The White House says many Doge employees are staying in the administration, continuing to cut costs. Republicans in Congress, too, want to formalize the cuts Doge has already made. To them, that's where Musk and Doge's impact lies. It's not solely about its claimed $175 billion in savings, which is short of its initial $2 trillion goal. Democrats want to investigate Musk and Doge, but they say they might have to wait to hold him accountable.
We have tried to subpoena Elon Musk before. The Republicans did not want to do that. So, listen, I think that, unfortunately, we're going to have to wait until the Democrats are in the majority.
The president, meantime, making a few announcements on steel, saying his partnership between U.S. Steel and Nippon will create jobs and boost the U.S. economy. He says U.S. Steel will remain under American control, though some union leaders are skeptical. They're especially worried about what this could mean for national security. The president is also raising steel and aluminum tariffs from 25% to 50%, which he hopes will boost these industries. That is set to take effect on Wednesday. Another thing we're watching this week, the White House is planning to send a $9.4 billion Doge cuts package to Congress, perhaps as soon as next week. Nicole, back to you.
Thanks so much, Madeleine Rivera.
Got it.
So, Griff, we heard Jasmine Crockett say right there that they want to subpoena Elon Musk. They want to hold him accountable. But right now, they don't hold the majority. So will all of these investigations actually go anywhere?
No, they're not going anywhere. And Jason can certainly talk about that when you're in the minority. But, I think, as we watched on Friday, Elon Musk, a private citizen worth billions, I guess maybe the wealthiest billionaire on the planet, actually made the sacrifice to come into government for 130 days, a special government employee, and the president has the right to appoint those. So I'm not sure there were any crimes committed here, but take on the bureaucracy. History's going to look back, Nicole, and say, wow, one guy was willing to take on the bureaucracy. And whether he gets to $1 trillion or $2 trillion, he's at about $200 billion now in cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, transgender operas in developing countries, cocaine for mice to see if they feel good. The president read a whole list of it that reminded us just how ridiculously out of control our government came. And yet no one, over the decades people have talked about cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, no one's actually done it. He did it. And so I think Jasmine Crockett's got it wrong insofar as once he's gone back to his private life, And as Elon Musk said, the Doge spirit will continue. They're going to keep trying to identify things. I think it's going to become a little bit more bipartisan and less of a target with him gone, because ultimately you're talking about those Democrats like Crockett are defending the waste, fraud, and abuse of what? Our dollars, our American taxpayer dollars.
Well, I think the way that it's been politicized, Jason, is the fact that they think that he's lying about it. But the reality is Doge is not a person, it's a movement. And so what kind of uphill climb do congressional Republicans have to make sure that these cuts that were enforced or put in place by Doge actually stay put?
Well, they're going to have to fight against the Democrats who are just spewing lies. I mean, what they're saying about cutting off the food supply, cutting off medicine, that they're acting like the Nazi Germany. I mean, that is so offensive on so many levels. So you got to fight against that clutter out there and that 20% of the Democrats that they're talking crazy talk here. But Republicans have the opportunity. They were given a mandate with Donald Trump becoming the president to actually implement these, to put them into the code. Part of that will be in the big, beautiful bill, but most of it is in discretionary spending. Those require separate bills, separate appropriations. And that's the challenge to Congress, because this has festered far too long. And remember, we're $36 trillion in debt, folks. This is an emergency. You don't have time to just dink around with this. We're paying more than $1 trillion in interest payments. So if you want to actually put this country on a fine footing and fund all those things that you want to fund, you got to get rid of all the waste, fraud, and abuse. But now Democrats, what they've done, they've just taken a position of, oh, we're against common sense. That's really where they are today.
Well, we learned that they've been like that, especially throughout COVID.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.